I was already introduced, but for those of you guys that are here that may not know who I am, my name is Jake, and I'm Lonnie's grandson. Over the years, you know, and as I've seen other people's grandfathers pass, or I've heard other people talk about their grandfather, I've heard people say, my grandfather was one of a kind, or they don't make him like him anymore. And one thing I can promise you guys is they didn't know my granddad. Okay? That's one thing I can tell you is true about him. There's not many like him. But that's just one thing that's true about him. My granddad, or PawPaw as I called him, he was truly one of a kind. He was a larger-than-life kind of guy who always knew how to light up the room when he walked in. I could stand here and I could tell stories all day, but just a handful of things I know about my grandfather, and I think that everybody else here knows about him. He was generous, charismatic, he was tough as nails, he was fun, he loved life, and he had a huge heart. He never knew a stranger. Everywhere we went, he made sure to strike up a conversation with somebody. Whether it was the cashier, a bystander on the street, or waitress at the restaurant, it didn't matter who. During that conversation, you could guarantee a couple of things were going to happen. Number one, he was probably going to start the conversation by showing you his Minnesota Vikings championship ring. That was his go-to. The second thing is he was going to brag on his grandkids, me and my brother and Amanda. He was always proud of us, and I know he loved us. Another thing he was going to do, he was going to make you laugh, and he was going to make you smile. He was always the guy that knew how to make people feel important and always knew how to light up the room when he walked in. My PawPaw was the toughest man I ever knew, and I'd say many of you would probably agree with that. But in my eyes, what really made him tough was not because of his ability to give or take a hit, which he did plenty of during his younger days, but it was his ability to still be my PawPaw even when I knew he didn't feel like it. I'd come see him in the hospital when he was sick. He'd have tubes and monitors and wires and everything all over him. And I knew he was in rough shape, but every time I came in to see him, it never stopped him from greeting me with a big, "Hey, Snakey," and a huge smile on his face. To me, that's what made him tougher than anything. It was never because of what he did as a football player, a boxer, or as a young man in some of his favorite watering holes that he used to like to frequent. It's because when a lot of people would have given up on life, he fought like hell to make sure that me and everyone else around were going to get the same old PawPaw, Lonnie, Sam, Dad, whatever you wanted to call him. If there was one word I would use to describe my grandfather, my PawPaw, and the time I had with him, it would be the word fun. There was never anything I looked forward to more than getting to spend a week with him during the summer. We would spend countless hours in Oswald riding or wrecking four-wheelers. We would shoot guns, go swimming, fishing, or whatever else me and Jack and Amanda could con him into letting us do. One story I love to tell that really epitomizes how fun he was as a granddad, and I told my parents and some other folks that other people I might not share this story at their service, but I know he'd be okay with it. So when me and my brother were somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 years old, we always thought it was just the funniest thing to go skinny dipping. Okay, and when he had his house on the river, he had a pool, and he was having a pool party this evening. So me and my brother, we drummed up the bright idea we were going to get naked and go jump in this pool in front of everybody. So we do it, and of course we get a good laugh out of everybody. And but we thought the thing that would just top it off is if we could get our PawPaw to join in on it. Okay? So we tell him, we're like, "PawPaw, you need to come in here and come do this too, come do it too." And he's like, "Oh no, I will later," you know. And at the time, you know, I'm sure I thought, "Yeah, that'll never happen." He's just, you know, he's blowing smoke or whatever. And in typical fashion, he waited just long enough for me and Jack to forget about it. Next thing I know, the pool house door swings open. Here he comes running out of the pool house naked. He does a great big cannonball into the pool in front of everybody. And that's a story that ever since that's happened, I've loved to tell that story to people just because I think it's hilarious. And I think that just really epitomizes who he was. And that he was always looking for a good time. And he was always looking to make sure that me and Jack and Amanda and whoever else was around had a great time. But my PawPaw, he loved life. He was always looking for his next adventure, whether it was taking me and my brother to the WVU bowl games, taking a trip to Tombstone, Arizona to visit his favorite saloon, Big Nose Kate's, going to Montana for a hunting trip, or heading down to Florida for the winter to work on his tan that he always loved to brag about when we would come visit him. He was the kind of person that was never going to miss out on a trip or a chance at a good time. It killed him not to be in the action when there was some fun to be had. Another story was one time we were in Cocoa Beach, where we used to vacation. And I'll never forget, me and Jack were out in the waves playing in the ocean. I don't know, we were probably 13 or 14 at the time. And I guess it just was really killing him to see us having fun, and he just wasn't getting to be a part of it. So I see him get up out of his chair, and here he comes waltzing down the beach, and he gets in the water, and those waves are crashing in. He's made it through about 3 waves, and next thing I know, I see his false teeth fall out. So his false teeth fall out, he catches them, and he just kept right on going. But he wasn't going to miss out on a good time. I think everybody here knows what a big heart he had for others. He was the kind of guy that'd give you the shirt off his back, and maybe that would explain why I've seen so many shirtless pictures of him over the years. But in all seriousness, I've always known him to help people, whether they deserved it or not, whether it was just giving somebody a place to stay or giving somebody just a couple dollars to get through till their next paycheck. My papa always took care of his friends and family. As challenging as it's been to lose my grandfather and idol, it makes me happy to know that he lived as full of a life as anyone could ever live. We had it where we shared a lot of great times that I wouldn't trade for the world. Nothing makes me happier than knowing he's up in heaven, strapping on his pads and helmet again, lacing up his boxing gloves, hauling in a big peacock bass, or flushing up a covey of birds. It means the world to me that I was able to stand up here and be able to honor my PawPaw. Thank you guys for coming.